Hello and welcome to another episode of Tech Enthusicast. I'm Neil.
I'm Simon. And let's start with our usual Oneplus 2 update. Where are we at, Neil?
Well, the problems I was having have been fixed. There was a tiny hiccup, but I have actually ordered a Oneplus 2 now, so I should have one on its way.
Did you get the 64 gig?
I got the 64 gig. That was the only one available to me.
Are we allowed to change the back at least?
You can't change the back, but you can purchase extra backs.
Oh, so what does it come with as standard? The black textured one?
Black sandstone, the same as a Oneplus One.
That feels nice though, I like that.
It does feel nice, but I think one thing I noticed, because originally when I got the Oneplus One I was planning on not putting a case on it because I liked how the back felt. But you start picking that phone up with some not so clean fingers. And
all of a sudden it's slippy.
Yeah, basically. And then I think the kind of, because it's like it's called sandstone, it's a rough texture, but it starts to smooth out because there's stuff sticking into the crevices. And is it
like, when you used to have a laptop and you'd rest your palms always in the same spot and you'd take the textured surface off? Can you remember?
No, I never experienced that.
No. Well, maybe you didn't buy a cheap laptop, but if you bought a cheap laptop back in the day, the plastic would be nicely textured. But because you always rubbed your palms in the same location, eventually you just wear it smooth. It'd be awful.
I did consider getting one of the swap covers, but didn't in the end.
How long is it going to be till it's here?
5 to 10 working days.
Oh, when you said 5 terms, thinking, oh my God, so our listeners are going to have to hear me say, where's your phone, for 10 more episodes.
No, 5 to 10 working days.
So it should be here pretty soon.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you watched this week, Neil, but there was an Apple event.
Who are they?
Well, everything. I was surprised they slipped the iPad Pro in there.
Yeah.
I was. We might as well start with the iPad Pro.
Okay.
What are your thoughts, Neil?
It's a Microsoft Surface.
You're telling me that Apple took someone else's idea, refined it, and then tried to make out they were first?
I would never suggest such a thing, Simon.
I don't think Apple would ever do such a thing. No, they've never done anything like that. No. I mean, they've never tried to introduce a keyboard.
No.
That is a blatant version of the Surface keyboard and talk about a new, unique keyboard experience. No,
of course not.
No.
It's a nice looking bit of kit.
Yeah. Do you know, there was a couple of specs that really popped out to me. The screen, for starters, is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
That is a phenomenally big screen.
Yeah, was it
12.9 inches? It's two iPad Air 2s side by side.
No, it's not quite.
Yeah. Pretty close.
It's like 1 and 2/3.
Virtually two iPad Airs side by side.
Yeah.
But the stat that really stood out for me is that the pitch in it is a desktop class replacement.
Yeah.
Which you could argue is why the price tag is so close to what a notebook costs, because it is supposedly capable of what a notebook is.
Yeah.
But being able to edit 3 4K video streams in iMovie.
That does seem insane.
That seems insane.
Yeah.
And then it also suggests, because it's only got 32, 64 and 128 on board, there is definitely some external storage going to be introduced. Because if I'm editing 4K, 64 gig,
it's not a lot.
That's nothing. That is absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So
an iCloud's not going to be able to.
Yeah, let's upload this 500 gig file to the cloud.
I'll see you in a week.
So I think that's one of the real things I'm interested in. They've created this new docking system. I forgot what they're calling it. The smart.
Oh yeah, the 3 little nubs.
Yeah, the 3 little magnetic. I can't remember what they're calling it. But smart something. We really should do research before we start recording.
We kind of did.
We kind of did. Just couldn't remember the terminology.
Yeah.
But that, to me, suggests there's going to be some incredible additional devices that right now we can't even imagine. Because to move away from that lightning connector.
Yeah. Well, just off the top of my head, I mean, some of the demonstrations they gave were like medical stuff. So
put it on top, like the rack, the little thing that they wheel in, the dolly. Tolly. I don't know what they call it, but yeah.
DJs.
Oh yeah, that'd be incredible for DJs, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you could have some kind of little deck thing that you could do mixing on.
It could start to be a control system for lots of devices. I'm thinking, you know, a lot of pilots are starting to use them in the planes.
Yeah.
It just docks in the plane.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting it's going to fly the plane, but, you know, in terms of can give the readout that the pilot needs for flight control.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see if they stick with that. Because right now, the iPad Pro is the only one using that connector.
Yeah, but it could easily be introduced on future versions of the other iPads.
It also makes you think, could you do it where just one connector on like the iPhone, for example? Do you need all three? Does it increase the amount of bandwidth? Was the 3 there just so the keyboard locks in a bit tighter?
Yeah, it wasn't very clear.
So do you only need one of those magnetic points to transfer enough data? So it'd be interesting to know what the data throughput is.
Did the 3 points do different things?
Yeah.
One for power, one for data, one for Sunday. I don't know.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of questions. It's a beautiful device. I'm going to pick it up. I really am.
I might. If I go into an Apple store, I can pick it up and then put it back down and walk the hell out.
I'm sure we'll be recording this podcast on an iPad Pro come November, Neil. So
do you reckon?
Yeah, probably.
Fair enough.
Well, the reason I want it is the multitasking.
Yes.
This is going to be the first time I can easily do multitasking with accessibility.
Yeah.
Because I've got both apps open. I can just flick between. It'll be like multitasking when I could see.
Yeah.
It's going to be a real big difference to me. So I'm going to sell the Air, use the iPad Pro instead, and use it straight up.
Yeah.
No but replacement. And this, you know, I nearly called it a stylus then, but the pencil.
The Apple Pencil.
Yeah, I know. Oh, that's again great piece of tech. It really is. In the demo the Adobe gave for watercolor, did you pick up on that?
Yeah.
So the tilt of the pencil determines how much water versus pigment.
Yeah. That was quite impressive.
Ingenious.
Yeah.
And this is release day uses. So what are the uses going to be in 6 months, a year, 18 months? That pencil is going to be able to do incredible things.
Yeah. It was definitely interesting, and obviously all the comparisons, all the things have been said about the fact that Steve Jobs said they didn't need if they ever release a stylus, they failed or whatever.
Oh, I know, but we're talking then about him discussing a stylus on a 4-inch iPhone 1 screen.
Yeah.
Back then that made no sense.
Yeah, this is a device that, wasn't thought of back then, or it might have been conceived. But,
but the technology probably didn't exist for it to be a reality.
Exactly.
So we're way beyond when he said it was never going to happen.
Totally.
So I'm glad they did it. I'm shocked it was announced at the same time. I didn't think they'd possibly squeeze it into one event.
It was a long one.
I think, was it 2 hours, 2 minutes? It was something around that.
If you don't include One Republic's performance.
Yeah, they could have cut that out.
Yeah, I wish they had.
Oh, it was terrible, wasn't it?
It was really bad.
I can't understand. You employ Zane Lowe.
Yeah.
Why don't you go to Zane and say, Zane?
Well, Tim Cook said it was one of his favourite bands.
What, you mean just like Jobs kept on bringing U2 back as his favourite band?
Yeah.
You know what? Stop. Just ask Zane who should be performing.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a lot of sort of chatter on the internet that it could be someone really impressive, someone mind-blowing.
It really wasn't.
I know a lot of people say it's going to be Taylor Swift. To the point where on the Apple forums, because apparently she's performing in Texas,
right?
Someone had said, if you charter a jet, this big itinerary of how Taylor Swift could charter a jet, make it, do the event, get back and perform her evening event. But Taylor Swift would have been like, okay, at least you're staying contemporary.
Yeah.
They've got so many new people they've introduced to Apple Music.
I mean, that one song of One Republic's did incredibly well 2 or 3 years ago.
And why didn't they have like The Weeknd on? Or someone like that that's been all over Apple Music?
Don't know.
Why didn't you get Drake?
Yeah, well, that was a big rumour as well, wasn't it?
Why don't we get
Drake?
Why don't we get Pharrell?
Yeah.
For a company that seems to understand music, they never seem to get
No.
Who should be on that stage?
And they've got all the data.
But apparently they'd rather go and just do Tim Cook likes.
Yeah.
That's the way forward.
What did you think to the way the Apple Pencil charges?
The speed?
No, the way it charges, plugging it into the bottom of the iPad.
You need some way to charge it, you know.
You do, but imagine you've got your iPad on a table, on a counter, on the sofa, as it could be in your home or wherever, and you've also got this flappy thing out the bottom of it. You pick it up, how easy is it going to be to snap that off in the iPad or damage it in some way? Damage either the iPad or the pencil.
They must have tested that.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, and it takes 15 seconds to charge for 30 minutes of use.
True.
So I would imagine it's going to be a device that you charge fully once.
Yeah.
And from that point on, it's a 30-minute charge.
Yeah.
Because you're never going to get... Oh, yeah, I suppose you could sit there and draw for 10 hours. I don't know. But I see it's a real intermittent charging device.
Yeah.
I don't think perhaps it's something you're just going to leave in there charging all the time. Maybe you could argue, I'll store it in there while the iPad's on the side, like you said. But
yeah.
I think you're going to lose that pencil a lot.
That's the other thing, isn't it? Nowhere for it to live. And what's going to happen to it? Because it's not much bigger than a pen, really, is it? And as a result, I don't know, how many pens do you lose?
I think a lot of people argue at the price point was at $99.
Yeah.
But if you look at how much, like the pencil from 53 costs.
Yeah.
And there's no technology in that.
No.
That's just a moulded piece of plastic with some sponge on it.
Yeah. And yeah, I've seen other stencils as well that were around the same price as the Apple Pencil, so it's not ridiculous.
Yeah, there's no technology in that. No technology. And the keyboard, I initially went, oh God, $169.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, because Zag have announced a third-party sales Logitech. So okay,
Right.
Zag make pretty good keyboards. They really do. And I was like, okay, how much is Zag's? $149. Oh, I'll just spend the $200 more and get
the official
one then. Because, no offence, Zag, but the official one's probably a bit better made than yours.
Yeah.
And you know what? Warranty will be better as well. If it does break, take it back to the Apple Store. Oh, guys, my keyboard there's a new one.
Yeah.
They won't mess around. Whereas if my Zag one breaks, I'm like, oh, lost my keyboard for 2 weeks.
Yeah, but again, it's a kind of a new thing, isn't it? It's not like a Bluetooth keyboard like you can use with the Surface or anything like that.
Well, you can use Bluetooth keyboards still.
You can do, yeah,
obviously, the Zag and the Logitech and the Apple one are using the smart
exactly
connected thing.
So that part of it is new.
I would imagine
they've
had to pay Apple a substantial licensing cost to use that technology.
Yeah.
I suppose that's how the cost. But at the same time, you don't want to make a cheap product because it's an Apple product. Why would I make my accessory $50?
Yeah, especially when it's an accessory that actually does something that isn't just a case.
Yeah, so I can understand why the price is high, but if you get the 32GB Pro and the keyboard and the pencil, we're at what? $1,069.
Yeah.
So it's the same price as a notebook.
Yeah.
And if it really does have notebook performance, yeah, I don't think the price is that extortionate.
No.
It's high.
Yeah.
It's very high, but extortionate? No, I don't think it is on that device.
I think they made a big deal about the fact that like the processor is, desktop comparable.
I think that's how they're just trying to push the high price tag.
Yeah, but I don't know. It depends on your use case. Because in one way, I can see that it is a use case for somebody who, like a graphic artist, somebody who's going to be using that kind of stencil to its utmost.
If you compare that to, what's it called? I can't remember what they're called. But like the live painter devices, the Apple Pro's cheap.
Yeah.
And it does the same thing.
Yeah.
It's cheaper, which is crazy.
But then at the same time, it's less capable than a laptop or a computer.
Yes, because very specific apps and stuff for it. But once you start allowing bigger, bolder apps to be used, because it is so powerful, is it going to become a point where you release it for the iPad Pro as well as releasing it for the desktop.
Yeah.
I just hope that LibreOffice will eventually release their word processor on the iPad.
All right.
But I don't think they will because it's Java. So it's on Android because it's Java.
Yeah.
But it'd be such a big rewrite to get it working on an iPad. But I think on iPad Pro, if they release their Office suite, it would be a real Microsoft Office competitor.
Right.
I would pay for that. It's such a good Office suite. And it's a shame that, I don't know if they would, I do tweet them, because, well, why don't you release iPad? I don't think they'll ever do it. But other Apple devices, because there was 2 more devices, Neil.
There were?
There was a TV.
There was.
That was the big disappointment of the night. Why didn't they release that 3 years ago?
Yeah. I think they've been holding out for content deals, is the feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think they got to the point where they could no longer hold out. There's no reason why the Apple TV 3 couldn't have had the App Store.
No.
No reason.
No. And, I mean, they say, it's got a completely different UI, but you look at it and it's got a completely different palette, but the layout is basically the same.
Yeah, it is.
The layout's no different.
Well, because the Apple TV 3, I think, uses an A5 chip. So, yeah, that's a few years old. But if you'd have released an App Store, every year you could have released a new Apple TV at a moderate price, and you'd have had people buying in for it for 2-3 years.
Yeah.
It's been capable of an App Store since Apple TV 2. And that was a long time ago. And to me, it just seems not too late, but at this point, I expected more. Yeah,
I mean, it's now the amount of set-top boxes we've seen coming out that were Android-based, and the intention was that you could play games on them, or you could, download Plex and apps like that.
Well, Plex has been announced for Apple TV.
Yeah, and have them kind of, there on the store so you could use them. They've been around for years, but none of them have done very well.
That's because no one's had a marketing budget that starts with a B.
Yeah, and that's that kind of is the thing. I mean, I think other than nothing else, it will do all right because it's an Apple product.
Oh, I reckon opening weekend, 3 million.
Yeah?
Yeah. Because it's going to come out just at the right time.
Yeah.
Late October. Holiday buying period. It's going to be $149. They're going to push games hard.
Yeah.
Games console, $149 for Christmas. I can watch it on my TV. Yeah, I'll have that.
As much Angry Birds as you can possibly play.
Well, the demo Crossy Rose, didn't there?
They did.
Do you know what? Have you ever heard the story of those guys who made that?
Hipster Whale?
Yeah.
Don't think so.
Beautiful little story. I'll probably get it a lot wrong here, so let's not do direct quotes. But he moved into the middle of nowhere in Australia because it's dirt cheap to live.
Right.
And he really wanted to make it as a games developer. And his girlfriend or partner was on board, saying, okay, let's do it. And he created a few games and stuff, and he just wasn't getting any traction. And he was like, I'm going to have to give this up. I don't think we can afford to do this anymore. And then his partner came along, his business partner, and said, right, let's make a new game. And then they sat down and apparently went, right, what's made other games successful?
Right.
And they sat down and analysed it. And apparently came up with a very analytical approach, even down to naming it Crossy Rose to make you think Flappy Birds.
Yeah.
And every element was thought of like that. And they said they manufactured a hit. And then they released this game, and now you ain't got to worry about that house in Australia anymore. We can afford to live. So it's a great little story, and it shows, if you take a step back and think, right, what does make a game successful?
Yeah.
And their model for how they make money was interesting as well. Do you know about that as well?
Well, I mean, I did play it, and it out of all the free-to-play games I've played, it is one of the least pushy about you actually spending any money.
Well, you spend money by buying new characters in the game.
Yeah.
One of the top-selling characters is the piggy bank.
Yeah.
And that was just put in there as look, I can afford the piggy bank. And it's sold. And they've made millions. They've made absolute millions. And now they're at a point where they can take punts on doing really interesting things. And I think that's what's great when the developers hit it big like that. It then gives them a chance to do big punts and do games that they wouldn't have been able to make previously because, this is not going to make us a ton of money. Yeah. I think it'd be an interesting idea. So yeah, now they're working on things like that, which is pretty cool. So to come back to the Apple TV,
yeah,
the thing I really like, and this is why it's getting pre-ordered,
right,
is Siri. For me, it comes back to what we've been talking about in every single episode, I think, of this podcast. Getting that user experience down to one interaction.
Yeah.
It has. I know it's existed on other platforms. I'm well aware of that. It's not new. But now I can just say, hey Siri, latest episode of House of Cards.
Hey Siri, misinterpret what I'm saying and bring me the wrong TV show.
Hey, let's not diss it. Let's not diss it.
Well, we did a side-by-side test here a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, we did.
We did. We activated both Siri and Google now at the same time, and I said something to it, and I think we did it 2 or 3 times, and Siri got it wrong all of those times. Google now got it right.
I'm not arguing with you. You're right, but as more people use it, the corpus increases.
Yeah.
In fact, on iOS 9, I don't know if it's just on the 6S or on the 6 as well, or every device, there's a Siri voice training.
A Siri voice trainer?
Yeah, it's in the Hey Siri options, there's a voice training option.
Right.
I've been saying this will bring this back for years. Because
Yeah.
we moved away from voice training.
Yeah.
Into this, it'll be right, it'll
be...
figure it out, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't.
Because that's the dream, isn't it? That it just understands anybody.
But you need, the corpus you need for that is, Google approaching it, there's no mistake in the Google approaching it. The way Facebook's going to mine the data, remind me about this, I'll come back to this at the end.
Okay.
It's interesting. So yeah, for me, that's great. And have you seen it's got an enhanced speech mode?
Enhanced speech mode?
Yeah, I was like, what's enhanced speech mode? You know when you're watching a show?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you say enhanced speech mode, and then the background music goes quieter and the speech gets louder.
Yeah.
So it allows you, if you've got children, just to get the speech and cut down on the background music and the background explosions.
Yeah, that feature of what did she just say?
Oh yes, and then it rewinds it and it puts on the closed captioning.
Yeah.
So it puts on the subtitles. You see? Oh, a little bits like that. They get us, Neil, they get us.
It's absolutely looked great.
Yeah.
I'm doubtful that it will work anywhere near as well as they are saying that it will, because I have my doubts about Siri. I just don't think Siri's very good. In my experience.
What you need to think of is this isn't sort of free speech. It's got 20 commands.
They were pushing it as free speech.
Right, it has got free speech, but as you just said there, hey Siri, what did they say, That's a command.
Yeah, definitely.
So they'll have thousands and thousands of different people saying that command. The test that we did when we were pitching Siri versus Google, they both got the command right. Siri failed on the search term.
Yeah.
So it got the command, and that's what a lot of the stuff on the Apple TV is. It's commands.
But they was, some of the stuff they were saying was like, oh yeah, find me that episode of Modern Family that had got X actor in it, and it's like, yeah, it's gonna fall down on that really badly.
On that, I agree, but on the more simple stuff like, what did she just say? What did he just say? I think that is going to be. Yeah, I think that'll be bang on. Yeah, yeah. I don't think I'm going to worry too much about that.
Well, if you're pressing the microphone button to say pause, you may as well press the pause button on the remote.
Don't talk sense, Neil. So yeah, that's getting pre-ordered.
Yeah,
I'll definitely be getting that. The game controllers. Now, I recorded a podcast the other day focusing on Apple, and I was a bit shocked at the cost of controllers. Apple TV, $149.
Yeah.
Each controller, $99.
Oh.
I'm at $349. I was like, no, that is obscene.
But
since
third-party controllers are going to work.
That was third party.
That was third party.
That was third party controllers, an MFI made for iPhone or made for iDevice controller. But then the following day, the ones that made for Apple TV were announced and they're $49.
Right.
So this was just one that works with iPads, iPhones, and will work with the Apple TV.
Right.
But now there's specific Apple TV controllers. They're $49. But we're still at just under $250.
Yeah.
For 2 pads and the device. So now we're we're approaching that. Ooh, that's a chunk of change.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because there's a bunch of times over the history of the recent few years of Apple's where they've basically gone, oh yeah, games, we really care about games, and then they really don't give a crap about games really, and they're just trying to push for it.
It's casual gaming.
It is, but I wonder how often is the Apple TV going to get an update? Because are they pushing it primarily as a TV, like streaming device, or
what do you mean?
device?
Do you mean isn't like, why do you think that's going to relate to gaming? Oh, do you mean just the hardware? What do you mean software?
The hardware.
Oh, right, okay. I would imagine if they're now seen it as a core product, that gives it the standard 12-month cycle.
Right, which is crazy.
Yeah, but that's how Apple operate their products.
Yeah, but for, I don't know, for something that is essentially coming up butting heads in the console-ish market, that's crazy.
Is it the future? You know, give them 4 iterations if they do a 12-month cycle if they caught up.
Yeah,
that'd be scary. That Microsoft and Sony should be. I'm not saying Nintendo because I think people are still buying Nintendo because they do such unique devices and great IP. Yeah, that's a good point. If they do a 12-month cycle, I would imagine it's not going to take many years to catch up. It's really not. Maybe it could even surpass on a 12-month cycle. In 6 years, you're looking at, that must be like a 20-30 times improvement on raw speed. I don't know. In fact, can you remember when Oculus were first discussing where they felt the future of VR gaming was? And they said mobile.
Yeah.
Because of the 12-month cycle. And they felt that consoles will lag behind in the future because they don't have such a great cycle.
True.
In terms of hardware upgrades. So is this rather than Apple coming in just before the crest of the wave, are they coming in just as the wave forms and they're going to ride it all the way to the top in 5-6 years' time if it's on a 12-month cycle?
Yeah, I think because from a hardware point of view, they're trying to be the one box that you need in your living room.
Well, like Xbox One did.
So is the Xbox One, yeah, and to a certain extent PlayStation. But yeah, I think that's the space that a lot of companies would like to occupy.
I don't think they're there now. The Apple TV, as it stands in a couple of months, is not that device. On a 12-month cycle, in 4 years, 5-6 years, absolutely. I'd never even thought about the 12-month cycle. Yeah. The Apple TV historically is not run on a 12-month cycle.
No.
But they've always classed it as a side pet project.
Yeah.
But a core product is a 12-month cycle. Wow. How powerful is it going to be in a few years' time?
But, yeah. I don't know. I'm just wondering about what they can, other than internal hardware. Internal hardware. You know, what new things are they going to bring to the table to justify 12 months?
It'll just be speed bumps.
Yeah.
Hey, let's not underestimate it. Speed bumps has worked for them on other core products.
Yeah, but there's usually a little quirky little new feature as well.
Is the Apple cycle product next year speed bump, which means you don't need anything new until the next tick. So we've got tick, we've got top, we've got tick.
Yeah.
So that's 2017. So by 2017 is when they need to give it something new. So is that something new? A Kinect-like device? A new way to interact? Who knows? We're 2 years away from that tick.
Yeah.
I would imagine it's got to be some kind of Kinect style, knows what you're doing to allow you to interact. Something to do with the control system.
Yeah.
It's got to be. That's got to be the next step. But I'm buying this one anyway.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Yeah. We'll come back to that in when the rumor mill starts in 6 months' time.
Yeah. I mean, they were saying that some of the apps will be universal, which
now that's interesting. There's also a 200 meg cap on the app.
Right.
That's when you download from the store.
Yeah.
200 meg footprint, but then you're allowed to download assets.
Yeah.
So what they're saying is, you'd probably build in the first 5 levels of your game, and then once you get to level 5, it downloads the next 10 levels.
Yeah.
And that's their way around it. So you're clicking, you're playing, boom, you're in. So 200 meg seems small, for what we're talking about, console gaming. But I think for the first few years, it's just going to be casual gaming.
Yeah,
it's going to be. I'm watching a bit of TV. I click twice. I'm on a game until my show starts.
Yeah.
Back on my show now. Well, show starts. Oh my god, what am I in? Am I in 2013?
Do you think that people?
What
sit
was I talking about then?
TV shows
I don't know.
to start?
I have no idea. That was just silly talk.
Wow. Flashback to my childhood.
Waiting until the baseball game starts, Neil. That's what I was thinking. It was a slip
Fair
of the
enough.
tongue. It was a slip of the tongue.
Sporting events.
I know.
Got me.
I know. I've got you there. iPhone. It's
another iPhone.
Yeah, I will admit to pre-ordering it. It was an accidental pre-order.
It was an accidental pre-order.
Total accidental pre-order. Now, if we're talking about products that are overpriced, that's this product.
Yeah.
£728 it cost me.
That's a lot of pennies.
For a 64 gig phone. 64 gig iPhone 6, and I took out the warranty. Because chances of me smashing it quite high. So
yeah.
I took out the pos. Yeah, it was an accidental pre-order. I was going out yesterday, pre-order day.
Yeah.
Pre-order started at 8:01. I was leaving the house at 8. And we had to leave at 8 because I had to be somewhere.
Yeah.
And I was like, right, I'm not going to pre-order it, but I'll just see if the Apple Store app loads on cellular data while I'm in the car.
Oops, bought a phone.
So I went, oh, it loaded. But I can't place an order. So I did it to my basket. It's going quite well. Yeah, Apple Pay, I'll try that. Oh, I bought it. It took like 20 seconds. And usually, on pre-order day, it goes down and stuff. So I told myself, I'll give it one try, because there's no way it'll work on one try. And it did.
Yeah.
So I bought it. So yeah, got that phone.
So out of the 3 products announced...
Get them all,
yeah. Right.
It's the first time. It's the first time I've ever done that. I do own... The only thing I don't own is a Mac Pro. But actually, that's not true, because I haven't got the new MacBook either. Although I did try and buy one while I was in America, but it wasn't out. They wouldn't sell it inside. So I got to buy it online. I'm like, I'm here. I'm playing with it. I want it. It's an impulse buy. Just give me it. Can't say it. Okay, buy.
Yeah.
And then I went out going, they're saving me a lot of money though. Actually, that was pretty good. They turned us down. Yeah. So yeah, this is the first time it's ever happened where I've wanted every device from an event. But I've wanted... Every device has just improved accessibility to a point where I'm thinking, I want it. I want it. I want to be able to be quicker at doing things, and these devices are going to allow me to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, bought it. But what new things has that phone got, really? Well, apparently everything's changed, if we believe the marketing. Everything.
Yeah, the only thing that's changed is everything.
Everything's changed. Well, they've done exactly what we've been talking about. It's almost like we know what we're talking about now.
No way.
Seriously. Oh yeah, they're just trying to bring that user experience down.
Yeah.
Improve the UI to that one interaction to get the information you need. It has to be done. Everything's got too complicated. There's too much going on your phone. It needs to be one click, one tap, one peek, one pop. Oh God, that's terrible terminology. I like it. Apparently it works with VoiceOver, because I actually ordered it before I even knew it worked with VoiceOver.
Oh, right.
And the idea was I'm going to get it out of the box. If it don't work, send it back.
Yeah.
I just wanted to test it, but it just got announced. It does work with VoiceOver. Yeah, it's great. It's brilliant. From the home screen, I can do the things you should have been able to do from the start.
Yeah.
Things that Android has been able to do. There's no arguing there. Android's done it without the peek and pop, but like the widgets.
Yeah.
For example, I used to run the Twitter widget on my home screen. So you can just press the button and you're tweeting.
Yeah.
Do you do that?
I use an app, a Twitter app. Yeah, that I've got a widget on my front page.
Yeah, and like Facebook status widget.
Yeah.
Because what you wanted to do with your phone nowadays is you either want to tweet, you want to Facebook, you want to Instagram. Why are those three things not one press? They need to be one press. And they've done that with Peak and Pop. And that's just Apple's way around their user interface to reduce it to one gesture. But it's interesting. It's a different way to do it. They've, as ever, had to do some ridiculous engineering because they couldn't just have it,
Shall we just change the software?
No.
That would be ridiculous.
Well, create a new Taptic engine which can vibrate in one movement rather than 10.
Yeah.
How much was that cost to make?
It must cost an absolute fortune.
Obscene amounts of money.
Yeah.
Apple. They're the only company that'll do that.
Yeah.
The only company willing to probably throw 100 million into making it work in one rotation.
Yeah.
Everyone else is happy with, you can get it down to 8, that'll do, we'll have that. No, I want it in one. Other big thing, the camera, live photo.
Yeah, that's just a GIF, surely.
Well, no, because it doesn't take it all, does it? Right, we probably need to give a quick introduction to what live photo is. When you take a photo, it records the second half in front and the second half after.
Yeah.
But rather than playing as a seamless video, it creates like a little dreamscape drift through, doesn't it?
Yeah, which...
They've added some artistic flair.
They have. They're basically trying to make you create your own photos.
Have you seen that Facebook and Instagram are supporting it, though?
Really?
Yeah. That's it. Everyone's using it. It's happened.
It's a gimmick. It's nothing. It's piffle.
Shall we say that in 6 months' time?
Well, it doesn't bother me in any way, shape or form being an Android user, but...
You'll still see it.
Yeah,
You'll
but
see
it's a gimmick. It's a nothing.
Of 1.8 billion photos uploaded in those services, 400 million of the iPhone.
And it defaults to being a live photo as well.
Yeah. What's the point in having a 16 gig phone?
Yeah.
Twice the file size per image.
Yeah, 16 gig just seems so redundant.
The only reason they've got it there is to make that phone look cheap.
Yes.
Cheap is probably not something you associate with.
For only X amount of dollars more, you can have more storage.
That's the point. That's half the reason. Because, they've got these these watches that cost $15,000. They've never got to sell one of them.
No.
That's not the reason that watch exists. That watch exists to make the others sell.
Yeah.
Fashion industry's been doing this forever. You can walk into a high-end fashion boutique and there'll be... In fact, the watch industry, they'll have a watch for like $1 million. Yeah. And it sits in a cabinet. No one's ever going to buy it. Yeah. Well, someone will. Some, Russian or someone with a lot of money. But its existence is there to justify the price of the other devices. And that's all it is. And it's the reverse for the other way around. You do the low-cost one to make the other ones not seem as expensive.
Yeah.
So it's an awful tactic. And that 16 gig phone now, I'd say, is pretty useless.
Yeah, pretty much. What can you put on it?
I've got a 64 gig phone, and just with my standard installs,
Yeah.
I think I've got 20 gig left.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not sure on mine. Mine's 64 gig, but I don't know what I've got left.
Yeah, so 20 gig left. I can't operate on a 16 gig phone. I really can't.
And what portion of that is the operating system?
I think we're up to like 2-3 gig, aren't we?
Yeah.
Like 1 or 2 maybe?
Because you're not actually getting 16 gig.
I can remember when we discussed this with the Microsoft issue. When it was it's too much space, and we joked around that Apple had just had more storage, so they could still say 16 gig on the back. They wouldn't care. So we'll just add extra 2 gig.
Yeah.
Just for the OS, so it still says 16 gig. And we're probably getting to a point where they're going to have to do something like that. But I think this is why Apple are really big on this maximum size asset, because the app slimming feature of iOS 9 is interesting.
Right.
Because people create an app with assets for all the different phones.
Yeah.
They've now had to, do it through new version of Xcode and stuff. So when I download an app now, it only downloads the assets for my device.
Right.
So the file size ends up being far smaller. Because historically, when I download WhatsApp, I downloaded the assets for every version.
Which is unnecessary.
So
yeah.
So that's why they've introduced the slimming. So hang on, they've upgraded the camera. They did live photos. They did 3D touch because we didn't give it its name for peak and pop.
Yeah.
We probably should say what peak and pop is, but basically, peek is a gentle press. Yeah. And it allows you to peek into an app. So you can peek on an email and you can quickly have a brief look at it. It's like, oh yeah, I want to read that. And then you press hard and it pops in.
So it's all in one press, essentially. You're not taking your finger off
the analogy people are saying is digital SLR, focus, take shot.
Right.
You know, when you do the slight depress and you hear it focus. But, you know, people who've had hands-on have said you can really tell the difference between peak and pop, and it's instant. You can tell straight away.
Right.
So, well, I'll have it week on Friday so we can play with peak and pop.
Yeah. I'm wondering, because there's an app that uses something similar-ish in Snap, or did do until recently, Snapchat, to view the videos or the photos or whatever. You had to keep your finger on screen. And they got rid of it because your finger's blocking your view of the screen. Good point.
Won't bother me with voiceover, but it might bother you.
Oh, you're so selfish. But yeah, it's going to be an issue to a certain extent.
Yeah,
How big an issue it'll be?
I actually believe that thumb blocking the screen was the advertisers complained.
Right.
Because there's this thing in advertising called viewability.
Oh, right.
And you need to see X amount of pixels for X amount of Y amount of time.
Yeah.
So if someone's having to block it to view it.
Yeah.
You're not seeing the pixels, are you?
No. But to be honest, when Snapchat introduced it, I was like, brilliant, because I've used Snapchat and it is just one of those things where I'm just like, there's times when somebody's made a snap and it's like they've used the phone at one angle and then they've added something else to their story and that's taken from a different angle with the phone a different way around, and you're having to orientate the phone round so you can see the picture the right way round and then move your finger around the screen.
What?
So you're not blocking off what you were seeing. So when they introduced that, I was like, fantastic, because now you just hit it and that's it plays.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that could be an issue to a certain extent, but we'll just have to wait and see how big an issue it is.
I would imagine the argument would be because you're peeking, it's there to give you a brief look.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be examining the content. That's what pop is for.
Yeah.
Peek is just for, is it interesting? Yes, it is.
I mean, in the
release,
in the example that
whereas
that
Snapchat
they gave of,
is slightly different in terms of if you wanted to watch the entire content. Whereas peeking, you're not necessarily wanting to watch the entire content.
In the examples they gave where the peek gave you menu options, then that's not necessarily an issue because you presented with 3 or 4 options and you just slide your finger up to whichever one it is you want.
Yeah.
But in the example of like peeking into the email or a message or something, it might present a bigger problem. But
yeah, but I think the peak would be enough to give you the idea of whether you want to pop. Oh, I can't even use that language.
I know.
It's so awful. It's going to be one of those things where you feel so awkward using it now.
Yeah.
But it's going to become
it'll just be second
standard.
nature,
Yeah, popped in. Oh, they've got me. Well, they've got me anyway. They got me with that accent on pre-order.
Yeah.
Damn them. It's the first pre-order experience about Apple that was smooth.
Yeah.
I've been pre-ordering their product since original iPhone. First time, it's worked well. I just didn't think there was any chance it was going to work.
You hear stories every single time of just like, there's no way, don't even think about trying because you can't get on.
Yeah. I couldn't last year.
Yeah.
It took me lots of refreshes, it knocking me out of the store a few times.
Yeah.
They must have bought some new servers.
Yeah.
They must have gone to see someone who knows what they're doing about servers.
Was there anything else on the iPhone? Did you get an S or a Plus? Well, not an S or a Plus.
Do you know what? I was tempted by the Plus.
Yeah.
But then I thought to myself, I still want an Android.
Yeah.
And my big screen needs will be fulfilled on the Android. Because my big screen need is for typing, basically. Yeah. So I don't mind which device that takes place on.
Yeah.
If it's better on Android, so be it. And I was already spending £728. I didn't really want to spend £819.
No, I can imagine.
For that slightly bigger real estate. Because £819, So let's do the math on this.
Yeah.
I can get a Oneplus 2.
Yeah.
I can get a Moto X Style.
Yep.
And possibly the new Nexus for the same price.
For the same price, all three.
All three. For the same price as
Three
that.
for the price of one.
Which seems...
Yeah, it's crazy.
Because the one thing I did want to mention, the iPhone upgrade program, that's why I was holding out.
Yeah.
I was going to go iPhone upgrade program where,
we're not going to get that for a while.
No. And that's what I thought to myself. I thought I'm going to be waiting so long. Because the iPhone upgrade program basically allows you to do a monthly payment and then you get a new phone every year.
Yeah.
So it's $32 starts off in America. I was thinking that's a pretty good deal because you get Apple Care Plus as well. But yeah, it's not going to be for a while. And I'm obviously not a patient man when it comes to Apple products.
No.
No, well, I'm an early adopter. It stings me all the time.
Yeah.
But I still continue to be an early because I enjoy being an early adopter. So yeah, bought it.
Yeah.
But do you know what? There's not just Apple in existence, Neil, so there must be some other tech news.
Do you reckon?
I reckon, because we need to get over mobile phone season.
I know.
It needs to be over already.
So
There's one more
much.
announcement, the Nexus.
Yeah.
And then we should be over mobile phone season.
Fingers crossed.
It's lasting too long now.
Yeah.
It's like a 2-3 month.
It's been, yeah, it just seems like every week we're talking mobile phones.
It is. It starts now, the season. The season.
Yeah.
Starts in July and runs all the way through to the end of September.
Crazy.
No wonder people aren't selling many phones.
Yeah.
Because you start too early and everyone's like, well, I'm going to wait for the iPhone announcement.
Yeah.
And then you come too late and everyone's like, well, bought the iPhone now.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to compress in a 2-week period. I know it'll be crazy.
It would be crazy.
But 3 months is too long to talk about phones.
Yeah. But,
so I've got another phone story for you.
Yeah. Just to round it out.
Just to round it out. Now, I was reading about a really interesting app that's come out of Purdue University called Hush for the Android. Because we're all fed up with battery drain.
Yep.
Batteries disappear straight away. Apparently, 28.9% of battery usage while our phone is asleep. Which seems...
is useless.
Yeah. It's like, well, I've lost a third of my battery while it's asleep. So they come up with this app that runs while it's in sleep mode and disabled services that are no longer needed for the user experience. And it increases battery performance by 16%.
Yeah.
16%, that is massive.
Yeah.
For not having a hardware upgrade, for just changing something simple in software, which makes me think, why have Google not been this aggressive?
Well, I've used a couple of battery management apps in the past, and they tended to be freaking useless.
Yeah.
Because you'd open it up, or there'd be a button. There was some that just put a button on your home screen, so you had to do was press that. It was like a widget, but it was the size of a normal button.
Yeah. So
you press that, and then it'd analyse the information. You go, yeah, these things are running. They don't need to be. Do you want to shut them down? And you go, yep. And then you shut them down, and then an hour later, you might not even touch your phone, but you run that again. It's like, yep, all these things are back up and running because the apps are written in such a way that they restart themselves.
Well, maybe this is a bit more persistent.
Yeah.
And does the checks and just closes them as the attempt or whatever. I'm not too sure, but it's backed up by a research project.
Yeah.
Which makes a bit more of a difference than an app that was free on the store to download.
Yeah.
That says it does what it does.
Yeah.
This has actually been backed up by a research project.
Cool. Well, I'll give it a try when it's available.
We'll have to put that in the show notes. Have you got any other news, Neil, or is it just me that's been getting the news this week?
Nothing is jumping to mind now.
Well, my favourite post of the week, and that's saying a lot considering I've spent a lot of Apple money this week.
Yeah.
is I read a tiny little post about where Wi-Fi came from.
Oh, yeah.
And it did not come from where I anticipated Wi-Fi to come from. With any technology like this, you think military.
Yeah.
There was a military use for it. Some naval base somewhere or some RAF base needed this, so they made it.
Yeah.
Turns out the need for Wi-Fi came from the need for shops to have tills you could move around the store.
Right.
In the 80s, people were creating shops with marble floors, and to run cabling, you have to drill through marble. Now, that meant that's where your till were.
Yeah.
So if you ever wanted to structure the store, and put the till somewhere else or move things around, it meant drilling marble again. So people thought this was crazy. So the FCC allowed an amount of spectrum to be used for people to come up with ideas to transmit information wirelessly, and that meeting formed Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So tills, which you can't even imagine being on Wi-Fi, can you?
No.
You can't imagine a till being on Wi-Fi.
No.
So yeah, the need for tills to be able to communicate wirelessly began Wi-Fi, which just seems incredible.
Yeah.
Thankful for it, because I use Wi-Fi for just about... The only device in my house that I think is currently wired is my Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
Everything else, Wi-Fi.
There was one thing that interested me in the Apple. Well, not the one thing, but one more thing that we haven't already discussed that interested me in the Apple press conference, and that was the fact that there's going to be an Android migration tool.
Yeah, well, yeah. Interesting, because it's not going to be the only app on Android by Apple.
Well, I thought it was interesting the fact that there's no way that Apple would let Google put an iPhone migration tool to go the other way, because there's no way they're going to let a third party access that information.
Yes, but Apple have always had this big privacy stance.
Yeah.
Whereas Google have had this big, we make our money through sharing our data.
Yeah.
I do see the contradiction of terms there in terms of Apple versus Google.
I think it's a useful tool. It's something that probably is needed, but I thought it was a bit of a cheeky move, because there is no way they'd let Google do the same thing.
I'm thinking now, do any apps currently have a button to allow you to export contacts? There's lots of apps that do interact with your contacts.
Yeah.
But is there anything that exports? Does that exist? I don't know.
I don't know.
That'd be worth looking at, because I bet you there is. Because that is local data.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that they're not fussed about you doing that. I don't know. That I'm thinking, I was using something the other day that was trying to mess with my contacts. I was like, no, how dare you? Yeah. I think the migration tool is useful.
Yeah.
I think
the way they framed it as well, though, was like, hey, loads of people leave Android to come back to us, or to come to us for the first time. That's why we've introduced this.
Yeah, did you see that 28% of their sales were people moving from Android?
Right, that's quite a lot.
Yeah. I was thinking, that can't be true. That cannot be true. That seems
like
so
some
high.
Fudge statistics.
Yeah. It's like 28% is from Android or something daft.
Yeah, Android's everywhere. I mean, the thing.
Yeah, but I suppose what you need to think is, right, 28% of their customers. So let's say they've got 100. So have 28 new customers. Yeah. Now, Android must have 10 to 100 times more.
Yeah.
So do you think? So that's like them losing 0.5%. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when the percentage goes the other way,
it doesn't look very good.
It looks like, oh yeah, oh my god, we bled 1%. Well, wouldn't it be because of the market shares. If I'd known you were going to mention this, I'd have probably looked up the market shares to make that stat seem a bit more sense. But I know that Android's market share is obscene.
Yeah.
Compared to Apple. So yeah, that stat probably does make sense when you see it against Android's numbers.
Yeah.
It's just it sounds good when it's the other way around.
Good,
it sounds like that can't be real.
Yeah.
That can't be real.
There are people using Android phones that don't even know that their phones are Android phones.
That's true.
It's the amount of people on Android is ridiculous.
Like, I'm thinking now, right? So let's say, I'm going to make this up. Let's say they shift 70 million a quarter, 208 million phones.
Right.
So 28% of that, a quarter,
we're
looking at 70 million. There must be like 1 billion Android users. So yeah, it's a really small percentage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But yeah, it was some nice numbers to run up the flagpole.
Yeah, it was. I tell you what, numbers are interesting. God, this might as well be the Apple episode, this one. But the numbers that I always find interesting is they always come out with, customer satisfaction numbers.
Yeah, 97%.
Let's not talk about sales. Let's talk about customer satisfaction. And the other language thing that always, this one niggles me.
Right.
About Apple, this one really does niggle me. Yes, our new device is 7.9 millimeters thin. Do you mean thick?
Yeah. Yeah.
I see what you did there. I'm not stupid.
That is one of the oldest marketing tricks in the book.
But they get us with it. They get us with their language choice. And the way they gently nudge language towards using their language.
Did they even mention the thickness of the iPhone? Isn't it a little bit thicker this time?
I don't know if... I think everyone knew. And I think I'm getting mixed up with me knowing.
Yeah.
Whether it was announced at the event.
I don't think they mentioned the thickness of the phone at all. I think they mentioned the weight.
There's a big weight increase.
Yeah.
That's due to the screen.
Yeah. But, I mean, we've said it a few times before. Make it a little bit thicker. Stick a bigger battery.
The battery's smaller, you know.
Yeah.
The battery's smaller.
Crazy.
Yeah, apparently they've just got more power efficiency out of the chip and made the battery smaller.
Why don't just keep the battery the same size?
Because, Neil, they want it X millimetres. And I'd have preferred a thicker phone for a bigger battery. Yeah. But, they need that on the tick, not the talk.
Yeah, true.
iPhone 7, what do we need? We've got this new revolutionary idea, guys. It's called bigger battery.
Yeah.
No one's thought of it.
You carry it around on your shoulder on a handy strap.
We've got this external device. Maybe that's it. We're onto it. That's what iPhone 7 is going to have.
Yeah.
Bigger battery.
Right, okay. Well, I guess we'll better wrap it up for this week. We'll be back later. Well, yeah. We'll be recording again in a few days.
In a few days. Promise no more Apple talk, because I won't have a phone for a week on Friday.
Yeah, I doubt I'll have the OnePlus by then.
No, you might.
I might.
If you get this 5 to 10 days, you might have it by Wednesday, Thursday.
But don't know for certain. But yeah.
Shiny new phone.
Yeah.
If you get it before my iPhone, I'll be impressed.
Plus any other news that isn't related to mobile phones.
I'm desperately want to get some news away from mobile phones.
I'm sure there'll be some.
Not next week, but the week after is Nexus as well. So it's like, oh God, come on, just release it already.
We will attempt to have a phone-free week.
We're going to do it. Next week's going to be phone-free.
Yeah.
Even if you get your Oneplus 2.
And that's a Tech Enthusicast promise.
Guaranteed.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. I've been Neil.
And I've been Simon.
We'll see you next week.